We've got more Wrath of Rakshasa news from Six Flags Great America. Will there be theming in the queue? What's the locker situation going to be like? And also, Six Flags Great America is investing into Batman the Ride, the classic attraction there. They're bringing it back to its old school roots. Let's get into it. All right, so as I mentioned in the last video, No Coaster Con was that this weekend. If you don't know what that is, the American Coaster Enthusiasts, they put this on every year, the Western Great Lakes region of ACE. And it's basically a conference where theme parks from across the country, they fly into Chicagoland, they go to a hotel ballroom, and you get to sit there and listen to presentations from each of these parks, get to ask them questions. They talk about the things they're working on now, tease a little bit for the future. And I'm telling you, if you're a coaster person, you may have seen the news come out of this and think like, I already heard the news from it. Why do I have to be there? There's a lot of stuff that happens that you don't actually get to see online. They showed us exclusive POVs of a few attractions. We walked away with a bunch of cool perks. For example, got a one-day ticket to Dollywood, got an exit pass for at Cedar Point for either Top Thrill 2 or Siren's Curse. Do you know how long the lines are going to be for those? So those are just two of the cool things that we walked away with, and it's just $55 to get in for the entire day, and you get lunch. Anyway, I'm not here to promote the event, but just to tell you that what you're going to be hearing about now is information I heard at the event. So big thanks to Ace for putting this on, because when else would we hear all this stuff if we weren't in the room there? So shout out to them. But what you came here for is Wrath of Rakshasa, the dive coaster at Great America. If you're a local here, or you're just a fan, you know all about this. It's a record-breaking dive coaster they're putting in. My last video, I showed you Skycam 9 footage from my TV station, WGN-TV, the helicopter we sent up there, and we got some really cool footage of the construction site that's underway. You can see the lift hills going up, and there were still some questions that we were talking about in the last video, like what kind of theming elements will be in this ride? Will there be extra theming elements or not? Because not all rides at Great America have really cool theming in the queue. There was talk that there might be. We weren't sure. Also, what's the locker system going to be like? Am I going to have to, this goes right over the midway, am I going to have to check all my stuff into a locker before I get on? Will there be metal detectors? How are they going to run all of that? Well, while we were there, Great America was presenting, and they were asked those things, and they kind of confirmed that, yes, there would be theming in the attraction, and the locker system is going to be this really cool sort of conveyor belt system. If you've been up to Canada's Wonderland on their dive coaster Yukon Striker, it uses this conveyor belt system where you put your stuff into the bins at the station, and then the bins actually go up on this conveyor and they go around the train. So they arrive at the place where you're getting off the train, the exit side of the station. It's one of those things you just kind of have to see. It's cool, right? It's just a really neat thing. And they said, yeah, they're going to attempt to do this at Great America. So what happened is after the presentation, I was able to pull Rachel Kendziora aside from Six Flags, who was presenting, and she answered some of my questions about this, just to elaborate on it a little bit further. So what you're going to see in this interview here, you're going to see we talked about the theming right away, that she knows what the theming is. She knows what it is. They're not revealing it all right now, but she kind of teased that a little bit. So I asked her to explain a little bit more as much as she could. Also, we talked about the locker system. We talked about where the construction process is. And we talked about all of the things that they are doing to Batman the Ride. So Batman the Ride, the inverted coaster, was the first B&M invert. It was at Six Flags Great America, opened in 1992. If you were there anytime after it opened, it was the most incredibly themed thing. You walked through this park in Gotham, and there were rocks that played sounds and music. The original soundtrack from the Michael Keaton Batman, the Prince soundtrack, was blasting through out there. You could hear Alfred in the station. It was great. It was really well themed, but over the years, a lot of those theming elements have kind of gone away. Well, last year, suddenly, they just started putting them back. And so somebody asked about it, and they went through a whole elaborate list of all the things that they're doing. I'm going to show you that after our interview. But first, I'll show you the interview, and then I'll go through some of those details right after. Take a look. You mentioned today about, somebody asked you about the theming of the queue, that there is some plans. I know John mentioned that during the announcement that they were talking about it. So you've seen some of those. I know you want to keep that under wraps, but there's stuff coming, and you're excited about it.
I think it's really going to transform the ride experience from the moment you enter the queue to the moment you're getting on the ride to when you're coming back into the station. So you really get to experience the full Rakshasa story and how it got to be there at Six Flags Great America and right across the midway from our Demon roller coaster. So it'll be a really immersive experience.
Yeah, and then that midway is being constructed, so you will be like walking under the ride, right? When you're walking through the park.
Yeah, it's so cool to see right now. You know, you're looking at the space where the station is, and you're like, oh wow, it's not a massive space, but to see how it's going to weave in and out, how it's going to go right over the midway. So when you're on the midway and you're looking up, you'll see the riders that are on it drop right towards you. And then when you're on the ride and you're looking down, you're going to see the midway right there with all the guests in the midway. So it's going to be a really unique experience that we don't already have at the park.
You feel good about the progress so far with the construction? As far as, I know you don't have an exact opening date or anything like that, but you feel like things are moving along pretty well, how they should be?
Yeah, we definitely do. It's awesome to see the crews out there. I mean, the temperatures have been quite cold, so our crews are still going. And like I said, it's really cool to just see, like, one day you'll come in and you'll see it in one place, and then you'll see 2 more pieces were added. And so it's moving quickly. We're excited about it.
And you guys talked about the locker system a little bit here. So I've been to Canada's Wonderland on Yukon Striker, their dive coaster up there. So I'm guessing what you're describing is similar to what they have with the conveyor system where the belongings kind of go over. It's a really cool system.
It is. I haven't seen it in person. A lot of our team has gone to actually see it in Canada, and it's very unique, especially to what we have at the park currently. We've got locker systems in place, but nothing like that. So I think it's going to add a little bit of new experience to the ride operation itself, but also, like Kevin had mentioned, keeping the trains moving, keeping the people moving.
And just really quick, the Batman stuff. I think is so cool. Like, the ride's 30 plus years old now, and to spend all that time, I know there were so many things, and you probably can't go through all of them, but just what have you guys done to that to bring it back to life?
So from my understanding, it really started as more or less a passion project for our maintenance team. The ride experience in terms of the special events or the special effects and everything that's been included in it has vastly changed over the years. And we kind of alluded to, technology has changed since the ride originally went in. So I think it kind of started as a passion project to really restore the special effects and bring that immersive experience, again, similar to Rakshasa, from start to finish, back to the ride.
And the original music.
Yeah. I've seen a little bit of it. I'm similar in the sense that I'm looking forward to seeing it when it's fully complete this season. We got about 60% of the way before we closed for the 2024 season. So I'm really excited to just see it come to life. And the little bit I did see with, the smoke that is synced up to the ride cycle, and like it's a completely different ride experience for riders.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I want to show you the full list of changes that they're making to Batman the Ride. Improvements, I should say, to bring it back to what it was originally. As she talked about, here's what they shared on the screen. Take a look. I took a picture of it. So all the updates, they're replacing over 100 speakers on the attraction. As I mentioned, the speakers would play all kinds of cool sounds throughout the queue. All new amplifiers and controls, new audio effect playback decks. They brought back the Alfred ride announcements from 1992. That was so cool. That's one of my coolest favorite things in the station, that little narration there. They added 6 new smoke machines, so a lot more smoke effects are back. Added 167 new theatrical LED lighting fixtures. They're just repairing existing and adding new water features, all new solid-state video playback, distribution equipment, sound, smoke, and lighting all synchronized with the ride cycle. That is what is cool. All the stuff triggers when it's supposed to trigger, playing how it should. And so they're really bringing the ride back to its 1992 glory, gave it a paint job also. And I know some of you did complain a little bit to me, like, well, it's not really original if it's yellow, because back when it opened in 1992, here's some video that Great America posted on their YouTube channel from 1992. It is black. It was black when it all opened. I think I waited 3.5 hours to get on Batman when that first opened. And there was nothing like it. There was nothing like it out there. And it was an amazing, huge attraction, not just for Great America, but really for the whole industry. I mean, those are everywhere now. That became one of the most popular B&Ms to put into a park, big clone, all kinds of great stuff with that. Also, I wanted to share a little bit more about the conveyor belt system, the Yukon Striker conveyor system, because a lot of people did ask me and say, what is that? I haven't been to Canada's Wonderland. By the way, you should go to Canada's Wonderland. They've got an awesome coaster opening this year, Alpine Fury too. They've got some great rides up there. The people there are awesome. It's just outside Toronto. You can actually drive there from Chicago. I drove there when I went. I think it was like 6 or 7 hours, maybe it was longer than that. But I went through Niagara Falls and all that. It was a cool thing to drive up there. I went through like Detroit and drove up there. Anyway, it's not why you asked. But somebody responded in one of my tweet about this with their own video. Nick Sutton, I believe. This is kind of what it looks like. You put your stuff in the bins, and the bins kind of go around, and they end up on the other side. It almost feels like old school. Like that's how somebody would have designed it 30 years ago, but it kind of makes sense to have that on a pulley system going all the way around, and the stuff stays right there in the station, doesn't end up on the ride. Pretty cool. So that's kind of what that looks like, and from what they told us at the event, that is the plan. They hope to implement that on the attraction. So we'll see as construction gets going and how that exactly is going to work there. And we also have to know what the actual theming is going to be on the attraction as well. What's the storytelling going to be like, and how immersive? They kept using the word immersive, that whatever that's going to be. So is some of the interior queue going to be inside of some kind of building, or is it going to be? I don't know. I have no idea. What are your guesses? What do you think the queue is going to be like? What do you think this theming is going to be like? But I just want to echo what I think a lot of people have been saying, is that it was a really great update from Great America yesterday. It just really feels like they are putting, again, passion into improving the park. Want to add a couple more things, too. Kevin Shaw was there presenting. He's their operations manager. He's a big guy behind this Batman reboot, I'm sure. Also, he was one of the key people pushing to get Skytrack Tower back reopened, which they did. That's the observation deck at the front of the ride. But they shared with us yesterday that it was struck by lightning. The Skytrack Tower was struck by lightning, so the motor was shot. They had to replace the motor, and they used a helicopter to replace the motor on the top of Skytrack Tower. That couldn't have been cheap. So that shows you, again, that they are invested in actually getting stuff running at the park. That's pretty cool. The other thing they showed us a picture of the front entryway. They're redoing the whole entrance with if you've been there last season, you know that was like, man, every week it was like slowly coming along. They're building this new structure at the front of the park, a new fence. And so everything kind of moved forward. So when you go into the park now, when you finally get in, there's a huge space in front of the Columbia Carousel there before the pond. So people often gather there in front, take pictures and such. There's a lot more gathering space. So on those busy Fright Fest nights, busy nights of the summer, they will have more space there for people to kind of congregate and gather. And who knows what else they'll do up there, but it'll be interesting to see when you actually go there how big it is. It looks like it's a pretty big amount of space up there. So the other thing, they have an executive chef that they have hired. So the park has its own chef on property. That'll be neat. I'd love to actually meet the chef and talk about some of their ideas and what they're doing. Didn't get all those details yet, but that was neat to hear. They've got a new chef. And also they showed off some buildings that they're building, like a refreshment station, a new retail shop. I assume that's probably the retail shop that's going to be outside Wrath of Rakshasa. But yeah, there was a lot of little things like that. Also, you missed a really cool video that Rachel and Kevin taped driving around the park. It was hilarious. That was exclusive for people in the room. And we got to watch the full POV of Wrath of Rakshasa as well. And I will tell you, there's no block break halfway through this ride. It is go, go, go from the start. Once you hang up there and drop, you are cooking throughout this entire layout. And the inversion, there's 5 inversions on this. They look like beautifully placed. So as you're curving around, you're rolling into the next turn. It just looked like a really well-designed, smooth attraction. It's what you hope for, right? I'm excited. I'm really excited for this one. I think it's going to be in a cool spot, hanging over the midway there, people walking underneath it. Just curious to know what y'all think. What else do you want to know about where Great America's going in 2025, what the season is? They got CoasterCon there this summer. We talked about that a little bit. So that's going to be a few days. If you are an ACE member going to CoasterCon, they're going to have 5 rides with ERT. That's extra ride time, like extended ride time, whatever I think it's extended. I don't remember what the E stands for. But basically it means that you get to ride the coasters that are under ERT, you get to ride those extra. So you get some extra time either in the morning or at night to ride that when nobody else can, and you just get to ride over and over and over and over again. So it's a really cool thing to, another ACE perk if you go to CoasterCon. That being at Great America is pretty neat. So anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about all this. Any other questions you have. I'm going to try to get the helicopter back up next month as well over Great America, see what kind of progress they're making along the way. And I know there's some other great YouTubers who are doing like almost daily updates with their drones up around the property there. So you've probably seen some of that, but I'll try to get in that mix a little bit. And be sure to ask a question. Any questions, I'll try to answer them as much as I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube, trying to grow the channel. Also follow me everywhere at Marcus Leshock on social media. You can find me there. Peace out.